Leaks suggest that Star Citizen testers have completed a successful first run of the new server replication layer technology at scale, which represents an extremely important step for one of the bigger tech leaps that this game has ever seen. Once the replication layer is properly separated from the server, players should expect to see improved server performance, server crash recovery, and many more features as it opens the gates to true server meshing, which, according to leaks, may be in testing before the end of the year. This is huge for Star Citizen. Now, these replication layer tests were conducted via the Evocati test branch, which is essentially an NDA'd group of testers. But generally speaking, the results of these tests end up posted on Reddit or Pipeline right away, so while the general public might not be able to watch the tests, we usually know exactly what's going on. And this test seems to have focused specifically on server crash recovery. Basically, players loaded into a server, that server was then intentionally shut down, causing the game to essentially pause, while the new server booted up and took over the play session and unpaused the game. And from the report, it did work. Although the server boot up times were a bit slow, as was warned by the devs, and there were some bugs as expected. But generally speaking, it seems like large servers from people connected around the world were able to crash and then recover the play sessions. This on its own is obviously huge. Anyone who's been playing Star Citizen for a while knows the dreaded 30k crash, which means the server's about to go down and you're probably going to lose a lot of progress on whatever you're working towards. It's also a huge step towards server meshing, and it's very encouraging to see the first test actually work at scale. And again, it technically worked, and there was quite a few bugs from what I hear, with not all the features recovering properly, but again, I think the focus of this test was more on just the base functionality versus the polish of the overall build. Now, following this successful test, more information was leaked about CIG's plans for the near future, and it looks quite encouraging. And before I get into those juicy details, first I've got a quick word from today's sponsor. Nock One is a third-person survival action PvPvE zombie extraction game where stealth is one of the more important aspects of gameplay. Explore, loot, and escape a post-apocalyptic South Korea. And one of the more interesting aspects of the game is that the survivors of the zombie apocalypse also have a governed safe zone. And you actually have a citizen grade that determines privileges and access to levels. You'll need to make money for rent and better equipment. Ownership of higher citizen grades will grant you access to more and more. Honestly, I think the game looks pretty darn cool, and I'm always interested to see a different approach to the extraction genre. Now, luckily for us, we don't have to wait long to play this, as the pre-alpha will be playable on November 29th Pacific Standard Time. You can wishlist the game on Steam right now so you don't miss it. There's a link to that in the video description. I'll also leave you some links to the dev's social media so you can stay up to date with the project. Alright, back to those juicy Star Citizen leaks. Before the end of the year, they want to test the Stanton to Pyro jump gate in a tech preview channel. It's unclear if this test is going to be reliant on actual server meshing or not, but one would assume that this is probably the first trial of server meshing. As for the live server environment, the upcoming 3.22 patch is intended as a major quality of life improvement for the game and to be released by the end of the year. It's coming with a bunch of locations and features and probably new ships, but it also sounds like perhaps polish and refinement might be a major component of this one, which is certainly welcome to, again, any fan of Star Citizen. Now, beyond that, and again, according to internal leaks, there's a huge focus being put on bringing completed Squadron 42 features into the persistent universe, and they've already made tremendous progress in this regard. Basically, all the cool tech shown at CitizenCon, where Chris was like, we want to get all of this into your hands over the next 12 months, has a huge focus on it right now. And they currently have a goal of getting as much of that as possible into players' hands for the Q1 2024 patch. Obviously, this is super exciting because if there's one thing that this game needs above anything else, it's quality of life features and improvements. old legacy systems have stuck around in the online universe for so long because they've been working on them in Squadron 42. So to finally get these improvements to ancient, out-of-date, non-functional systems is going to be huge for anyone who wants to play the game. Now, CIG also released their new Star Engine trailer in its 4K glory on YouTube, and it has been slightly updated from the one shown at CitizenCon with some of the better water physics that we actually saw during a CitizenCon demonstration, and they also updated it with the cloth physics at the end and a few other details here and there. Certainly worth a watch if you didn't see the CitizenCon version. Now, during all of this, the Free Fly event in the International Aerospace Expo has been going on with a new concept ship for RSI, the Arastra. It's a large mining vessel that seems to be geared toward a large variety of mining gameplay. The ship itself is quite large, and it does look cool and seems to be embodying all of the lessons that the shipbuilders have learned over the years. The mining turrets move on tracks and can see all the angles of the ship, meaning pilots won't have to constantly adjust the ship to allow the turrets to mine their targets. Now, quite interestingly, Yogi Clat, one of CIG's top devs when it comes to all things ship combat, answered a lengthy Q&A about ship combat on the Star Citizen Leaks Discord known as Pipeline. And he revealed that somewhat ironically, many CIG devs use this Discord to stay up to date on other parts of development, which kind of makes sense since the Pipeline Discord consolidates not just leaks, but patch information as well, and just kind of all the information coming out of CIG. So if you wanted just one place that covered every little bit of news and info coming directly from the company, this is where to get it. And it's funny that devs themselves are actually using this player-run Discord. Now, some of the bits from Yogi's Q&A that I found particularly interesting were that they plan to release master modes to all ships at the same time, and that they acknowledge that the player base will be a huge part of the testing and refining of master modes experience. If you don't know what master modes is, it's basically a complete rebalance of all of the ship velocity, turning, weapon, targeting. It's like a complete combat and speed rebalance across the board for every single ship. It is a huge undertaking, probably much bigger than most people think, and it's good to hear them acknowledge that the first pass of this is probably going to require a lot of refinement and balance based on community feedback. Now, beyond that, most of what he answered were clarification questions about how Master Mode and other combat features would work, like that turret functions will get some of the cool zoom-in mechanics that were shown off at CitizenCon, and that spaceships without aerodynamic looking shapes will still be able to fly in atmosphere without too much trouble. There wasn't anything too surprising there, but he does seem like a truly passionate dev and fully invested in the vision of the game. There was also an hour-long Star Citizen Live where they talked a lot about engineering gameplay and answered some questions on that. The most interesting thing that came out of that for me was the knowledge that large ships will be soloable if they're new or in good condition, but as they get older or damaged, maintaining them or keeping them in a flying status may be too difficult for a solo player. And obviously you won't be able to man all the systems to their full extent, so if it's a combat ship, you probably won't be doing as well. Beyond that, they also acknowledged that they don't want repairing to become a full-time job or an annoying task that everyone has to do all the time, so they're looking to make sure it's balanced and a fun mechanic that doesn't get in the way of good gameplay. Now, for me, everything happening right now is extremely exciting, and it's hard to pick favorites with all of the upcoming features for Star Citizen. Obviously, the foundational tech is some of the most important because it leads to better performance, better stability, and a bigger universe. But the quality of life features like an updated star map, improved inventory, and new quantum travel system mean just as much to me when it comes to the actual gameplay and enjoyability. Everything seems to be moving uncharacteristically fast right now. I'm trying not to get my hopes up since this project is always shooting way past its projected timelines, but it's hard not to get a bit excited, especially if you've been playing the game for a while with the same old janky UI and travel systems. These upcoming changes could be huge. What do you guys think? Are we going to get some really exciting tech before the end of the year, or is it mostly going to be in Q1, or do you think they're going to just blow way past those projected timelines? Let me know in the comments, and next up, check out this video where I actually break down everything shown at CitizenCon. It'll give you an idea of what to expect over the next 12 months. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Levelcap, signing off.